Good morning, everyone. Good morning. A very warm welcome to yet another lecture number 4 on the chapter Neural Control and Coordination. Today, we will be discussing yet another important topic from where the questions mainly come for your exam. Number 1, central nervous system. Number 2 is the reflex action and the reflex arc. So I'm live in front of you for my DENI 2023 aspirants, right in front of you with the third last lecture of the chapter Neural Control and Coordination. And today's class we will be discussing about the central nervous system and about the reflex action. Those who have not become a part of our channel, don't forget to join our Telegram group at t.me/neat_biopoint. And those who are watching the session, don't forget to hit the like button to share the video to your friends and subscribe the amazing platform for more updates on biology. I hope you all can hear me properly. So without wasting a lot of time, let's get into today's session. And one more important thing, so be get ready for the class with your NCRTs in your hand, because right in today's class we will be dealing with the NCRT extract itself. Okay, I have cut down the NCRTs pages and prepare the slides. So because I have searched a lot of sites for this contents regarding the central nervous system as well as reflex action, but finally I started from the NCRT. Finally I came back and reached the NCRT itself. Okay, because I haven't find a better content than this anywhere. So finally we came back to the NCRT itself. Okay, so let's get started with the NCRT extract of the central nervous system as well as the reflex action. So this is what we will be dealing over in today's class. Just give me a thumbs up on the chat box if you are ready. Just give me a thumbs up on the chat box, everybody. If you all can see the screen perfectly fine and clear and you all can hear me absolutely fine. Yes, thank you so much. So, central nervous system. We all know what is central nervous system. What are the components of our central nervous system? In the very first class, when I taught you about the classification of neural system itself, I told you central nervous system will mainly consist of the brain and the spinal cord. Right brain and the spinal cord are the major portions of the central nervous system, among which firstly we are going to discuss about the brain. So the brain is the central information processing organ of our body, which act as the command and control system of our body. This is a previous year NEET MCQ question. Okay, so brain is the central information processing organ of our body and act as the command and control system of our body. It controls all the voluntary movements, balance of the body, functioning of the vital involuntary organs such as lungs, heart, and the kidneys, thermoregulation, hunger, thirst, 24-hour rhythm cycle, okay, circadian cycle rhythm of our body, activities of several endocrine glands, and also the human behavior of central nervous system's functions. Okay, don't miss at least one point. They can ask you which among the given following statements are not the function of the central nervous system, then you may get confused. So please just study each and every function given over here. So point number 1, it is a central information processing organ of our body. Which is the central processing information processing organ of our body? It is the brain. Point number 2, command and control system of our body is also the brain. Third function, brain controls the voluntary movements, the balance of the body, functioning of the vital involuntary organs such as the lungs, heart, and kidneys, thermoregulation, hunger, thirst, 24-hour rhythm cycle, activities of several endocrine glands, human behavior, and it is also the site for the processing of vision, hearing, speech, memory, intelligence, emotions, and thoughts. Clear? Clear, everybody? Yes. The human brain is well protected by the skull. Very important point. Okay, I'll erase everything and we'll come back over here. The human brain is well protected by the human skull. Inside the skull, the brain is covered by a cranial meninges. What is the term? Cranial meninges. This cranial meninges consists of mainly three different layers, that is arachnoid, pyometer and durameter. You can study from outer to inside. The outer layer is the durameter. Outer layer is known as the durameter. The middle layer is known as the arachnoid mater, whereas the innermost layer is called the pyometer. So these are the three major layers of the meninges. Okay, once again let's recap that. What are the three major parts? We studied that the brain is protected. Okay, what is it? The brain. The human brain is protected by a skull. Apart from the skull, you will have it is protected by the cranial meninges. Inflammation of this meninges is known as meningitis. Okay, meningitis. So cranial meninges is mainly divided, or it mainly consists of three parts. Three main parts. Which are the three main parts? The outermost part, that is, if suppose this is a brain, the outermost, okay, the outermost portion of the meninges, this outermost portion, you will call them as what? Durameter. Durameter. The middle layer, okay, this is the middle layer. Okay, this is the middle layer. This middle layer you will call them as what? Arachnoid. Arachnoid. And the innermost layer of the meninges, which actually touches or which is in contact with the brain tissue, you will call them as what? Pyometer. Pyometer. So durameter, arachnoid meter, and pyometer. Just comment me the answer on the comment section. Name the layer of the meninges which is in contact with the brain. Just tell me the answer. Layer of meninges. Layer of meninges which is in contact with brain. Just tell me fast. Is it durameter, arachnoid meter, or pyometer? Very good. It is the pyometer. Okay, pyometer is actually the layer of the meninges which is in contact with the brain. So suppose in the exam they will ask you to arrange this from outside to inside. Durameter is the outer. Pyometer is the innermost layer which is in contact with the brain. Okay, that is the difference over here. Again, we can classify this entire brain. This is actually the division of the protection, right? So brain can mainly be classified into three. This is very important. Brain is mainly classified into three. Number one is the forebrain. Number one is the forebrain. Number two, it is the midbrain. Number three, it is the hindbrain. Okay, forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Clear? Yes, listen very carefully over here. The forebrain will consist of three main parts. Number one, it will be cerebrum. Number two, it is the thalamus. Number 3, it is the hypothalamus. Okay, so what are the parts of the forebrain? Forebrain consists of cerebrum, thalamus and the hypothalamus. Next, coming on to the hindbrain, midbrain is just located between the thalamus and hypothalamus, but we will classify it. Okay, the hindbrain is composed of next 3 parts, that is pons varuli. Okay, cerebellum. Last part is the medulla oblongata. Clear? Got the points, everyone? Midbrain and hindbrain. So what are the parts of the forebrain? Cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. What are the parts of the hindbrain? Pons, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Another important point which you must by heart over here is that midbrain and hindbrain is together known as, or it together forms brain stem. It forms the brain stem. So what are the components of the brain stem? You have to include all the structures coming under midbrain and all the structures coming under the hindbrain as well. Clear? Clear? So let's discuss one by one. So the brain is mainly divided into 3 major parts, that is the forebrain, midbrain and the hindbrain. Look, let's have the diagram over here. Look, this is the forebrain. This structure over there is the midbrain, and finally you will have the hindbrain. What are the components coming under forebrain? What are the components? Forebrain consists of cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus coming under the forebrain. Midbrain is this region. This region you will call them as what? Sorry. This region would be what? Midbrain. And finally you would have the hindbrain as pons, cerebellum and the medulla. And the continuation of the medulla, the medulla oblongata will continues as what? As the spinal cord. Clear? There is a deep cleft inside the cerebrum that longitudinally divides the cerebrum into 2 hemispheres. Look, this divides them into 2 hemispheres. Okay? Clear, everybody? Just imagine this is the half cut. Suppose this is the brain and you're cutting the brain, like suppose this is a 3D image. You just imagine, and you're cutting it like this. Okay, you're cutting the brain like this. So this is a half portion. If you fix the next half portion above this, you will have the complete brain structure. So there is a cerebral hemisphere, a cleft in between, which you will call them as the cerebral hemispheres. So the 2 cerebral hemispheres are connected by a structure known as corpus callosum. What is it? Corpus callosum. In the chapter human reproduction, you will learn about a structure corpus luteum. Corpus luteum you will study over there. Don't get confused. Clear? Yes. So let's discuss one by one. The forebrain consists of cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. Cerebrum forms the major part of the human brain. Each line is an MCQ question, so listen very carefully. A deep cleft divides the cerebrum longitudinally into 2 halves, which is known as the right and left cerebral hemispheres. These 2 cerebral hemispheres are connected by a tract of nerve fibers known as corpus callosum. Learn and study each of these terms. Okay? Clear? The layer of cells which covers the cerebral hemisphere is called the cerebral cortex, and it is thrown into prominent fold. The cerebral cortex means it is what? What is cerebral cortex? Cerebral cortex is actually referred to as the gray matter due to the grayish appearance. What makes it grayish in appearance? The neuron cell bodies. The cell bodies of the neurons are present in the cortex region. So guys, just imagine this is the brain. You will have the cell body of the neuron. Okay, the cell body, the axon will be away from the cerebrum. Okay, the inner part of the, or in the cortex region, you will find what? The cell body or the cyton. Clear? You will find the cyton. So the cyton will actually give them a grayish appearance. Clear? So the brain will have the cerebrum as the major portion of the brain. That is, a cleft is there that divides them into two equal halves. Cerebral hemispheres. The cerebral hemispheres are connected by corpus callosum. The cerebral cortex is grayish in appearance due to the presence of cyton of the neuron or the neuron cell bodies. The cerebral cortex contains. One second, guys. The cerebral cortex will actually contains motor areas, sensory areas, and large regions that are neither clearly sensory nor motor in function. One second. Okay, everyone. Yes, Sonali, where were you? Are you there in the class? I haven't received any comments for the answers. One second. Yes. So the cerebral cortex will contains motor areas, sensory areas, and large regions that are neither clearly sensory nor motor in function. This region is called the association areas. Just wait for 3 minutes. I will be back right now. I have an important call, so I'll attend the call and I will be back in just 3 minutes. So just read out the NCRTs. Yes, guys, have you read out the topics that we have done? Yes, I can. I got an urgent call. That's why I just asked for 3 minutes. One sec, let me set out the mic. Just give me thumbs up on the chat box if you can hear me properly. Just come on, everyone. Yes, thank you so much. So let's continue, guys. What do you mean by sensory neuron? What do you mean by sensory neuron? Just I'll give you a brief idea about that. Sensory neuron and motor neuron. Sensory neuron means what? Sensory neuron means that transmits the impulses or signals from the receptor organ to the central nervous system. What do you mean by motor neuron? Motor neuron will transmit the impulses from the central nervous system to the effector organ. Clear? I hope you got the idea properly. Yes. Fibers of the tract are covered with a myelin sheath which constitute the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere. So the cerebrum, the outer part of the cerebrum is gray in color, or it is called gray matter due to the presence of cytone. The axons are present in the inner side of the cerebrum, so you will call what? The inner side of the cerebrum will be white in color, that you will call them as the white matter. What gives the inner part of the cerebral hemisphere white color? The axon of the neuron. What gives the neuron gray in color? Gray in color due to the presence of cell body of the neuron or cytone. Clear? The cerebrum wraps around an organ which is referred to as the thalamus, which is a major coordinating center for sensory and motor neuron signaling. Another very important part of the brain is the hypothalamus, which lies at the base of the thalamus. The hypothalamus will have a number of centers which controls body temperature. Which part of the brain controls body temperature? Hypothalamus. Urges for eating and drinking, thirst and hunger, relay station for thirst and hunger, hypothalamus. And in the chapter endocrine glands, we studied that it contains several neurosecretory cells which secrete hypothalamic hormone. Which are those group of neurosecretory cells of hypothalamus that secrete hypothalamic hormones? You will call them as what? Nuclei. Clear? You will call them as the nuclei. What are nuclei? Nuclei are the specialized cells present in the hypothalamus that secretes hypothalamic hormone. Clear? The inner part of the cerebral hemispheres and a group of associated deep structures. The inner part of the cerebral hemispheres, I will draw with the red color so that it will be clear. The inner part of the cerebral hemispheres, group of associated deep structures like amygdala and hippocampus. This will together form a complex structure called limbic lobe or limbic system. And what is the function of the limbic system? It is involved in the regulation of the sexual behavior, expression of emotional reactions such as excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, motivation, etc. Clear? Sonali, are you getting the point? Abhishek, are you getting the points? Perfectly fine and clear. Just if you want to repeat any of this organally, once again, just tell me on the chat box. Just tell me frankly, because I know I'm moving a bit fast. Because there is only very few terms that I should introduce before you. Everything other rest is very much clear for you. Just I'll give you 10 seconds to tell me about this, or else we will move with the same speed forward. Just tell me. Yes, it's clear for Abhishek. What about Sonali? Is it clear for you? Yes. Yes. So what is hypothalamus? Hypothalamus is an important part of the brain which lies at the base of the thalamus. What are the functions of the hypothalamus? It controls the body temperature. It acts as a relay station for eating and drinking, that is thirst and hunger. It consists of several neurosecretory cells called the nuclei which secretes hormones. The inner part of the cerebral hemisphere and a group of associated structures like the amygdala and hippocampus. So inner part of the cerebral hemisphere plus amygdala plus hippocampus together form limbic lobe or limbic system. And what is its function? It is involved in the regulation of the sexual behavior and certain emotional reactions such as excitement, pleasure, rage, fear, motivation, etc. Clear? So that's all about the forebrain: cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus. Three regions. Done? Moving on to the midbrain. The midbrain is a structure located between the thalamus and hypothalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain. A canal called cerebral aqueduct passes through the midbrain. A canal known as a canal called the cerebral aqueduct passes through the midbrain. Okay. The dorsal portion of the midbrain consists of four round swellings called corpora quadrigemina. What is it? Corpora quadrigemina. Clear? Done? Just learn out the term cerebral aqueduct, corpora quadrigemina. The hindbrain, as we have already discussed, it consists of pons varoli, cerebellum, and the medulla oblongata. Pons consist of fiber tracts that interconnect different regions of the brain. Cerebellum has very convoluted surface in order to provide the additional space for more neurons. Okay, so the cerebellum has convoluted surface in order to provide the additional space for more neuron. The medulla of the brain is connected to the spinal cord. That is, the medulla of the brain will continues as the spinal cord. And what are the functions of the medulla oblongata? It contains center which control involuntary activity. Okay, that contains involuntary activity. What are the involuntary activities such as respiration, cardiovascular reflexes, gastric secretions, etc. Clear? Three major regions make up the brain stem, that is the midbrain, pons, and the medulla oblongata. The brain stem forms the connection between the brain and the spinal cord. Clear? Yes. Perfecto. Coming on to the case of the reflex action and the reflex arc, you might have experienced a sudden withdrawal of the body part which comes in contact with the object that is extremely hot or cold or pointed. Or when you see, suppose you are going for the school, you see a dog while on the footpath. What happens? You will suddenly start tensed. Okay, you will feel tense. You will feel worried. What will the dog do? Will it bite me? Like, you will ask, your brain will command you to just take a curve and move forward without just looking at that dog, right? So that sudden involuntary reflex is known as a reflex action. So the entire process of response to a peripheral nervous stimulation that occurs involuntary, that is without the conscious effort or thought, and requires the involvement of a part of the central nervous system is called reflex action. Clear? So the reflex pathway consists of an effector organ. First of all, it will consist of a receptor. From the receptor, like the sensory neuron is also known as afferent neuron. The motor neuron is also known as efferent neuron to the effector organ. Clear? So generally the pathway will look like this. Firstly, you will have the receptor. Okay, from the receptor, it will be carried out by the afferent neuron or the sensory neuron. From the sensory neuron, it will be passed on to the association center or association nerves. From there, it will be transferred by the motor neuron to the effector organ. Clear? Yes. The afferent or the sensory neuron receives a signal from a sensory organ and transmits it via the dorsal root into the central nervous system. But central nervous system means it's a spinal cord only. Spinal cord is the what head of the department for the reflex action. The center of reflex action is the spinal cord. Even though we tell it as a central nervous system, but spinal cord is the organ. Okay, after it passes a signal, the efferent neuron that carries signals from the central nervous system to the effector. Finally, you will have a reflex arc as shown in the figure. Okay, so this is a figure. Suppose a pointed object is going to come. What happens? Suddenly what happens is that the receptor organ here is the muscle spindle. I am going to touch this. Clear? The receptor organ will actually passes a signal through the afferent pathway, which is carried out by the afferent neuron or the sensory neuron. Both are same. Okay, both are same. From here, it will pass on to the dorsal root ganglion into the white matter, then into the gray matter, and into the interneuron. This is the central nervous system or the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, it is carried out by the motor neuron through the efferent pathway into the effector organ. Finally, you will show a response. Clear? So this is the entire pathway for the reflex action as well. So there is a lot of surprise coming up for you guys, for all my dear students of NEET 2022 and 2023. Do stay tuned with us till the end of your academic year. Today evening sharp at 4, the biggest announcement from our BioPoint entire faculty, entire team is going to get or bring you the most biggest ever announcement made on our platform right in front of you. Sharp at 4 p.m. today, and the upcoming trailers will also be uploaded. Live session, we both will be joining for the session. Both me and Amal sir will be joining for the session for sure. So stay tuned with us sharp at 4 p.m. to know what is the biggest surprise that we have made for you throughout this past 2 days. Clear? We will reveal each surprises. Okay? Part by part, we will reveal or unbox for you all the surprise today sharp at 4 p.m. So stay tuned with us, everybody. Share this particular video sharp at 4 p.m. to every friends of yours, so that let them also get benefited with that biggest surprise from us. Clear? Bye-bye, guys. Stay tuned. And before that, let's end up today's class by doing 2 to 3 questions. I thought next will be the thank you slide. That's why I talked a lot about the surprises and all. So let's come back to the question. Let's do some of the questions. Just come and me the answer for the question, guys. Which act as a command and control system of the body? Which act as a command and control system of the body? Very good. The correct answer is brain. It is there in the NCERT itself. Next question. The forebrain consists of cerebellum, thalamus, hypothalamus, pons, cerebrum, medulla, amygdala, hippocampus, and the brainstem, thalamus, hypothalamus, and the cerebrum. What are the portions coming under the forebrain? Direct statement from the NCERT. Forebrain will consist of thalamus, hypothalamus, and cerebrum. So the correct answer would be option D. So Nali, it is cerebellum. Read the statement. That is what I have included the question. That is cerebellum. Cerebellum is coming as a part of hindbrain. Clear? Got the point? Cerebrum is the portion which is coming under forebrain. Okay, so don't get confused with that. There is in the NCERTs. Next question. Major part of the human brain is formed by, again question directly from the NCERT extract. Major part of the human brain. Read options very carefully. Cerebrum, cerebellum, corpora, quadrigemin, and medulla oblongata. Yes, very good. The correct answer is cerebrum. Next question. Next question. Limbic system or limbic lobe is formed by hippocampus, amygdala, hypothalamus, outer part of the cerebral hemisphere or inner part of the cerebral hemisphere. Limbic lobe, we studied hippocampus will be there, right? Amygdala will be there. Then inner part of the cerebral hemisphere, right? So the correct answer is A, B, and E. I will show you that. Maybe you will be confused about the same. I've shown you that. Look over here. I have marked the important points. Inner part of the cerebral hemisphere, deep associated structures like amygdala and hippocampus together form the limbic lobe or limbic system. So inner part, amygdala, hippocampus. Clear? So that's all for today, guys. So stay tuned with us sharp at 4 p.m. Me and Amal sir will be coming live in front of you after a very long time. Both of us are coming live in a single video just to reveal the whole surprises for you. So stay tuned, everyone, for the amazing surprise. Bye bye, guys. Thank you so much for joining into the class, Abhishek and Sonali.